Pam Bondi says she'll keep the Justice Department independent, free from political pressure, and committed to enforcing the law fairly. But here's the problem, her record tells a very different story. This is the same woman who's been deeply tied to Trump world for years, defending allies, fighting against key healthcare protections, and siding with corporate interests. Now she's in line to run the nation's top law enforcement agency, and senators are pressing her on everything, from dismantling the FBI's intelligence division to protecting Medicare drug price negotiations. The question isn't what she says today, it's whether she uphold the law tomorrow, when her friends are the ones in the crosshairs. The hearing began with Senator Amy Klobuchar highlighting the impressive track record of the U.S. attorneys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a good meeting this week. Thank you for that. And I appreciated your priorities on human trafficking that you mentioned today, that work, as well as fentanyl and some of your other prosecution experience. We had some similar backgrounds in doing that. And I want to talk about, first of all, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota, one of the premier offices in the country. This office has been instrumental in combating violent crime, dismantling street gangs, taking fentanyl off our streets, enforcing civil rights laws after George Floyd's murder, ensuring victims of fraud get justice. Do you agree that it should be a priority to support U.S. attorneys, frontline prosecutors, and case agents who work hard every single day on our streets?
Senator, I think that is one of the most important things in our country right now, and there are so many good men and women within the Justice Department throughout our country, as well as all the law enforcement agencies. Yes, they work very hard and they will be supported. I'm concerned about some of the proposals that could put cuts in the COPS program, burn JAG programs. I know you're familiar with those. Senator Murkowski and I lead the COPS reauthorization bill. Will you commit to continue to support those programs? Senator, I will read everything about those programs because that is a top priority of mine, and I would love to meet with you on that and Senator Murkowski to support law enforcement and those programs.
Thank you. Independence from political interference is vital to the legitimacy and success of the Department of Justice. I was honestly troubled by some of the answers to Senator Durbin's questions. We will continue that discussion, I'm sure, on the committee about the election. But I want to focus on the investigation, charging decisions. As a prosecutor, I'm sure you had this experience. I would get calls from people, hey, that's just a kid, give him a break. And I remember one answer I gave was, he's 40 years old, he's not a kid. But that kind of interference is attempted all the time. And one of my concerns here, whether it's a call from a friend, a corporate lobbyist, a White House, it has been very clear that the attorney generals of both parties have established clear policies to ensure the White House doesn't tamper with criminal investigations and prosecutions. At Attorney General Mike McCasey's hearing, he made clear that any attempt by the White House, and these are the words, to interfere with a case is not to be countenanced. Any call to a line assistant or to a United States attorney from a political person relating to a case is to be cut and curtailed. Do you agree with this statement?
Senator, yes, I believe that the Justice Department must be independent and must act independently. The number one job is to enforce the law fairly and even-handedly, and that's what will be done if I am confirmed as the Attorney General.
So you will provide an assurance to every member of this committee that the Justice Department will only follow the facts and the law, and the White House will play no role in cases investigated or brought?
Senator, it will be my job, if confirmed as Attorney General, to make those decisions. Politics will not play a part. I've demonstrated that my entire career as a prosecutor, as Attorney General, and I will continue to do that if you confirm me as the 87th Attorney General of the United States of America.
In an earlier question, some of my colleagues talked about China and the risk, yet you have a nominee from this incoming administration, Kash Patel, the pick to head the FBI, have serious concerns about him, has referred to the FBI's Intel Division, which is responsible for protecting us from foreign adversaries like China, as, quote, the biggest problem the FBI has had, and he said that he wants to, quote, break that component out of the FBI. Do you agree?
I have not seen those comments from Mr. Patel. We can to protect our country. Again, Mr. Patel would fall under me and the Department of Justice, and I will ensure that all laws are followed, and so will he.
Okay. There are many decisions made by the FBI director, having seen a number of them do their work, that can be made. While I agree you would be the boss of Kash Patel, I'm not sure that you would be able to intervene with every decision or position that he had or know what he's doing. So let's continue. Do you agree it is a duty of the Justice Department to defend the laws Congress passes? And will you commit to do even when the president may disagree with an act campaigned against its passage or called for its repeal? President Reagan's AG, William French Smith, said the department policy was the department has the duty to defend an act of Congress whenever a reasonable argument can be made in its support. So I'm specifically referring to the 2022 law that I long led that we passed to empower Medicare to negotiate drug prices, major savings for seniors. Will you commit to defend the law against the lawsuits from Big Pharma?
Senator, I was involved in big pharma cases when I was Attorney General of the state of Florida, and I will commit to protect the laws of the United States of America.
Okay, thank you. That would also, same question, with the Supreme Court is going to be hearing a challenge to the Affordable Care Act's coverage of preventative services. And despite the fact that you twice joined suits to have the entire Affordable Care Act invalidated, will you commit to defending this law?
Yeah, I believe this is very different. It's a very isolated, it's different. It's not the entire Affordable Care Act, but I will, it's pending litigation, of course, within the department.
Since the 1990s, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act has protected patients, providers, and facilities that provide reproductive health services. Will you commit to continuing to enforce the FACE Act to address violence and threats against those providing reproductive health care services?
Senator, the FACE Act not only protects abortion clinics, but it also protects pregnancy centers and people going for counseling. The law should be applied even-handedly. Yes, Senator.
So you'll uphold the enforcement of that law?
I'll uphold the enforcement of the law, Senator.
Okay, and I will ask my antitrust questions in the next round. We had a good discussion about that, and I do appreciate the nominee that has been put in place for the antitrust division, and there's incredibly important work that has to be done in that division. So
Gail
thank
Slater
you.
is remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thank all of my colleagues for abiding by the 7-minute rule.
Office in Minnesota. She praised its role in fighting violent crime, dismantling street gangs, removing fentanyl from communities, enforcing civil rights after George Floyd's murder, and delivering justice to fraud victims. On paper, these are clear wins. But Klobuchar's praise wasn't the endgame, it was the setup for a much tougher question. Would Bondi truly support the prosecutors and case agents on the front lines, the ones battling crime every day? Or would she prioritize political loyalty over public safety? For someone with Bondi's history, that's not a throwaway question. From there, the conversation shifted to the bedrock principle of DOJ independence. Klobuchar reminded everyone that, for decades, attorneys general from both parties have guarded a firewall between the White House and criminal investigations. Mike McCeasy, a past attorney general, famously warned that any attempt by the White House to interfere with a case must be stopped cold. The reasoning is simple: politics and prosecution don't mix. But Bondi's deep ties to Trump world raise the uncomfortable question: will she actually hold that line, or will she allow political influence to seep into the DOJ's most sensitive decisions? Bondi, of course, assured the committee that politics would play no part in her decisions, saying the Justice Department must enforce the law fairly and even-handedly. On the surface, it's the right answer. But the problem is, she's said that right thing before then acted in ways that favored allies and aligned with partisan interests. And Klobuchar wasn't shy about pressing her on that history. The subtext was clear: words are cheap, but actions will tell the real story. Then came a curveball: Kash Patel. Patel, a nominee from the incoming administration, has referred to the FBI's intelligence division as the biggest problem the agency has, and expressed the desire to dismantle it. That's the very division tasked with protecting America from espionage, cyber attacks, and domestic terrorism. Klobuchar wanted to know if Bondi agreed with Patel's radical view. Bondi responded with a political safe play, saying she hadn't seen those comments but would ensure all laws are followed. The problem, that's not an answer, it's a deflection. The committee, and the American public, needed clarity on whether she'd defend critical national security infrastructure, or allow it to be dismantled under political pressure. Klobuchar then moved to another high-stakes issue, defending laws passed by Congress, even if the president disagrees with them. She cited the 2022 law allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices, a policy projected to save seniors billions. The law is already under attack from Big Pharma, and with a president who has shown hostility towards certain regulations, there's no guarantee it'll be defended. Bondi claims she would protect the laws of the United States, but given her political alliances, it's hard to ignore the possibility that she might bend under pressure. Healthcare protections became the next flashpoint. The Supreme Court is set to hear a challenge to the Affordable Care Act's coverage of preventive services. Klobuchar pointed out that Bondi has twice joined lawsuits seeking to overturn the ACA entirely. Now, Bondi insists this case is different, and says she approach it accordingly. But when someone's track record includes fighting to dismantle a law, any promise to defend it is going to be met with skepticism. Then came the FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. Since the 1990s, it has protected patients, providers, and facilities offering reproductive health services from harassment and violence. Klobuchar pressed Bondi to commit to enforcing the act fully. Bondi agreed, noting it protects both abortion clinics and pregnancy centers, and said it should be applied even-handedly. Again, it was the textbook response. The bigger question is whether that even-handedness will hold when political pressure mounts. Across the hearing, a clear pattern emerged. Bondi offered assurances, but avoided giving detailed, definitive commitments. She leaned on vague promises, like I'll follow the law, without explaining how she would handle specific, politically sensitive scenarios. This is why Klobuchar kept circling back, because the DOJ's integrity depends on the Attorney General's willingness to enforce the law, even when it's politically inconvenient or damaging to allies. For millions of Americans, the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about legal theory or institutional policy, it's about whether seniors can afford their medication, whether healthcare protections remain intact, whether law enforcement can operate without political interference, and whether national security agencies can keep doing their jobs without being gutted for political gain. Bondi's past makes these concerns real. As Florida's Attorney General, she built a reputation for aligning with powerful political figures, resisting certain consumer protections, and championing causes that appealed to her political base. Now, as a nominee for Attorney General of the United States, she's promising a clean break from that history. But history has a way of repeating itself, especially in Washington. So the hearing left us with more questions than answers. Will she back the prosecutors and agents risking their lives on the streets? Will she protect laws that the president personally opposes? Will she shield the FBI's intelligence division from political dismantling? Or will she choose loyalty to her political circle over loyalty to the law? This wasn't just another Senate Q&A session, it was a stress test for the next potential leader of the Justice Department. And while Bondi passed in terms of composure and talking points, the real exam will come when she has to choose between justice and politics. Because here's the truth. Anyone can promise independence when the cameras are rolling. The real test comes in the quiet moments, behind closed doors, when political pressure is at its highest, and the choice is between protecting the powerful or protecting the public. So now it's your turn. Do you believe Pam Bondi will stand firm and uphold the law, no matter who it targets? Or is this just another political performance meant to get her confirmed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to keep following stories like this, where the stakes are high and the truth matters, make sure you subscribe, because the next one is even more controversial.